Welcome back. I think this is lesson 43. Wow, sixth grade. We're just rocking and rolling. And today we're going to find out parts of a number. And we're going to use that to figure out percent of a number, which is still a part. Percent is still part of 100. So we're going to figure that out. But before I give you a new strategy, because we can do this with math. It works with math. But I want to give you another strategy that works. But I want to take a step back and use some fraction sense for this. So for example, if I told you, or if I asked you, what is 1/2 of 24? This is something you should be able, in your mind, you're like, 12. We know that 1/2 of 24 is equal to 12. So I'm going to try expressing this as a sentence for a second. So if I had 1/2 and I had 24, how in the world could I get 12? What operation could we use to turn this into math? Well, let's turn them all into fractions for a second to help out. How can this happen? How can I do this and somehow get 12? Is there a way? So try this out. Like if you were to add these, would this work? Could 1/2 plus 24 over 1 equal 12? No. We did these earlier in the year where, remember, we multiplied. That gives us 2. This gives us 48, and this gives us 1. So this will only be 49 over 2, and that doesn't equal 12. So definitely not adding. What about, would that work with subtracting then? Well, we still have the same numbers, 1/2 minus 24 over 1. So we would still have 2 at the bottom, and we would have 1 minus 48, which is 47 out of 2, so no. So that gives us 2 more operations, multiplication and division. So let's try both of them. Let's try multiplying. So if we multiplied, well, 1 times 24 would give us 24. 2 times 1 will give us 2. This is promising. 24 divided by 2 gives us 12. So this would work. Anytime I want a fraction of a number, I can actually use multiplication. I'm going to test it out again. So pause for a second so you can jot this down. Okay, we're going to try it with another example. So 1/4 of 12. So again, I'm going to show picture-wise what this will look like. So here's 12. And if I broke it up into 4 pieces, you can see that 1/4 would have 3. All right, that's why I want to use easy numbers. So let's try and see if this is still true. 1/4 times 12 over 1. Will this give us 3? 1 times 12 is 12. 4 times 1 is 4. Simplify it. Let's see. 12 divided by 4 does give us 3. So this does work. We would just do 1/4 times 12, the same way we did 1/2 times 24. So multiplying, if I want a fraction of a number, a part of a number, I can just multiply. So if this is true, and it seems to be true, we can keep trying. If I wanted 1/3 of 1/2, what would this be? Turn this in the box. Now I want 1/3 of half. So let's cut this in half. And let's say I take that half and I decide to cut it into 3 pieces. So you just cut the whole thing. So again, here's half. I cut it into 3 equal pieces. What is this? This little piece. How much is this piece here? Well, it would be 1 piece out of 6. So does the math work? Is the math in y'all? 1/3 times 1/2? Yeah, it is 1/6. So again, anytime I want a part of a number, a fraction part, all I gotta do is multiply. So we have these answers. I'm just gonna put these here, just so we have them for reference. And now I'm gonna pretend like I'm gonna ask the same question. Well, what if I wanted a percent of a number? Could we just multiply it? So if I want 50% of 24. And think about it like if you were in the store, something is $24 and they say it's 50% off. You would know that that's the same thing as half. So what could you do to make this into a problem? Well, for one thing, I don't know how to multiply with 50. I know it's going to be 12. But if I try multiplying 50 and 24, I'm going to get a much bigger number. So here's the trick, Math Marbles. You're going to take that percent and you're going to convert it to a fraction. And now you can multiply it. So you can do that. The other thing I would recommend, and this is again, recommendation, complete recommendation on me. You could also take that 50% and choose to simplify it to 1/2. Now that is a more friendly way of getting to 12. So that's my advice for you today, Math Marbles. Today we're going to find percent of numbers. And we can do this with math. This does work with math. But there's a second strategy I wanted to introduce to you, which is to use a multiplication sentence. If this is too complicated, if this is too much and you're not ready for it, or you're not comfortable enough to do it consistently or to do it on a test because you don't feel as confident, that's okay. You could just go back to using math and saying 50 out of 100, because it is a part to whole. I want 50% of 24. So of, that second number is the whole, and you would just figure out this top number here. So that is something you can do, and you can cross multiply. So that is what we're going to do today, Math Marbles. We're going to set these up. I'm going to try using math, but I can also use the multiplication to support you. Now, you have lots of different tools, and we have lots of different strategies. So if you find that there is a percent that you can simplify, like this one, if we had simplified it to 1/2, it would probably be more friendly to work at than 50 over 100. So that's what we're going to do. So hit pause for a second to jot this down. And we're going to practice this out. There's a lot of new information, so let's practice. A family spends 20% every month on food. If the family's income is $3,200 each month, how much are they spending? So you've seen percents on tests. If you had a 20% on a test, you probably wouldn't be too happy because it means that you got most of it wrong. If you had an 80%, you'd probably be very happy because it means you got most of it right. So we do have some ideas about percents. We know 50% is half, and we know that the closer to 100 means the whole thing. So this is what we're going to do. We read the question. This is absolutely an RP question. The important information for us to have here is that we want to know what is 20% of $3,200. That's what we're trying to figure out, 20% of that amount. So here's my strategy. I'm going to try and show both, but I'll try the first one first. Use math to calculate 20% of 3,200. And I also tried using it as a multiplication sentence. I'll use multiplication. And before we do that, let's see if we can eliminate any things here. What we know that 20% definitely is less than half. So just looking at my numbers, 3,200. I know that $20 is way too small. That just seems like so little. So I'm pretty convinced that that one's not it. But I'm definitely sure D, $64,000, is much too big because that's more than the money we have. There's more than 100%. And I'm also pretty sure that B is incorrect because that's also way too little. That's close to nothing. So I'm assuming that's way less than 20%. So let's find out for real. Let's justify our work and let's set this up. Let's draw this out. And we have 20%, which is 20 out of 100, which is part and whole. And we don't have no idea what that part is for food, but we know we have 3,200. So I am going to use some strategy here, Math Marbles, and I'm going to choose to simplify. 20 out of 100. I am so convinced, Math Marbles, that there is an easier way. So just looking at 20 and 100, I can count by 20s to get to 100. The greatest common factor would be 20. So let's do that. How many 20s go into 20? 1. How many 20s go into 100? 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. So it takes 5. I would rather work with these numbers than 20 over 100. How about you? I would rather work with 1 out of 5 than 20 over 100. Now, if you want to keep 20 over 100 and cross multiply, you can. Just know that it will take you longer to do it. Let's work with the simplified way. Let's cross multiply. And this is 5 times the number is equal to 3,200. So here's our number sentence. 3,200 is equal to 5 times the number. Let's change it to a division sentence. 3,200 divided by 5 will give us that number. And let's put that in. 5 cannot go into 3. 5 goes into 32 6 times. It's 30. 5 goes into 24 times. That's 20. And don't forget, there has to be another digit. So it is 640. So we were correct. And just to see if this would have been correct as a multiplication sentence, let's test that out. But first, let's hit pause for a second, jot this down. Okay, good. Hope you have all this down. We've written this all out. N equals $640. All right, so we originally had 20 out of 100 times 3,200. I advised us to simplify the 20 over 100 to make it easier. So we get 1 out of 5. And we end up with 3,200 divided by 5. Then this is the same math we just did. So you're still doing the same steps. It's just represented in a wholly different way. Still going to be 3,200 divided by 5. So Math Marbles, I'm going to stop there. I am going to give you ways to think about what works for you. What do you feel most confident in? What makes the most sense to you mathematically? You can absolutely use math to find percent of a number by setting up the percent. If possible, simplify. And then set up your second ratio, but please be careful and decide, do I want the part or do I want the whole? So if in this case it said of the income, so of all the money they spent, so I knew it had to be in the bottom. So it had to be in our denominator. That's it for this lesson, Math Marbles. I hope it was helpful. I know this takes a lot of practice and we're getting into some serious math, but I think you're doing great. Don't give up. Keep pushing forward, and I will see you in the next lesson. Take care.